I never used to be scared of the dark. I actually liked it. Working night shifts suited me. No people, no distractions. Just me, the silence, and the hum of distant streetlights. But what happened to me during my last overnight security job ruined that for good. I haven't worked since. I can't sleep without all the lights on. And sometimes, I still hear it. I took the job in October 2018, just outside Pittsburgh. An overnight security guard at an old industrial park that used to belong to a steel company back in the day. The company went bankrupt years ago, and the buildings were mostly empty. Just warehouses, shipping docks, and a few forgotten offices with yellowed blinds and rusted filing cabinets. It was easy money. Midnight to 8 a.m., 5 days a week. I just had to walk the perimeter every hour, log my rounds, and keep an eye on the cameras. Occasionally, a delivery truck would show up early, but for the most part, I was the only living soul on the property. Or at least I thought I was. The place was huge. 3 warehouses, each 2 stories tall, with cracked concrete floors and echoing corridors. A chain-link fence surrounded everything, topped with barbed wire that had long since rusted. My office was a small security booth just inside the front gate, barely bigger than a porta-potty, with a space heater, an old computer, and a tiny black and white monitor cycling through 8 grainy camera feeds. The first couple weeks were uneventful. I brought books, watched Netflix on my phone, and did my rounds. The most exciting thing that happened was a raccoon getting stuck in a dumpster behind Warehouse 1. But then came December. That's when things started changing. It began with little things, barely noticeable at first. The keypad on the booth door would glitch, sometimes it wouldn't accept my code, then suddenly unlock without me touching it. The cameras started flickering randomly, mostly around the northwest corner of Warehouse 2. I'd see brief flashes of movement that were too quick to catch. Then there were the noises. I started hearing them during my patrols. Faint bangs, scrapes, sometimes a distant knocking sound like metal on concrete. I told myself it was the wind or ice expanding in the pipes or rats. Until one night, just after 2 a.m., I heard footsteps. Clear as day. Heavy. Deliberate. Coming from inside Warehouse 2. I froze. That warehouse was sealed. I had checked every door at the beginning of my shift, all locked. I radioed in, even though no one would hear me. Then I slowly crept up to the side entrance, flashlight in hand. The door was cracked open about 2 inches. That should have been impossible. Those doors had deadbolts. I'd locked them myself. My breath fogged in the cold as I pushed the door open and stepped inside. The air inside was stale and bitter, like old meat and mildew. My flashlight cut a path through the dark. Shelves stacked with dusty crates, tangled chains hanging from the ceiling, and puddles of black water frozen on the concrete. That's when I heard it. A low breathing sound. Not animal, not human, just wrong, like something exhaling from deep underground. I spun around, trying to find the source, but there was nothing. Then, from behind a pile of broken pallets, I saw movement. Something long and pale slipped deeper into the shadows. I backed out of the warehouse, slammed the door shut, and locked it with shaking hands. I didn't sleep that day. I just sat in my apartment, trying to convince myself it was a trick of the light. The next few nights only got worse. On the cameras, I started seeing figures. Barely visible, just faint silhouettes, standing still in the distance. They'd vanish the moment I blinked or looked directly at the screen. Sometimes the audio would cut in with whispering. Fast, overlapping voices, like a crowd murmuring in a language I didn't understand. Once I swear I heard my own name. Then, around mid-December, the booth heater died. The temp outside dropped to 6 degrees. I was wrapped in 3 jackets and still shaking. That's when I noticed something strange in the snow. Footprints, leading from Warehouse 2 to the booth. Barefoot, human-sized, but wrong. Each toe was too long, like someone had pressed their hands into the snow, but with only 4 fingers. I followed them back toward the warehouse. They disappeared before the door. Not faded, not covered, just ended. like something had stepped into this world from somewhere else. That night, I decided to report it. I wrote a full report about the noises, the open doors, the flickering cameras, even the footprints. I handed it to my supervisor the next day. He barely looked at it. "Takes a certain kind of mind to work overnights," he said. "You start seeing things. Keep the doors locked and stay in the booth." That was the last time I tried to talk to anyone. The following Friday night is when I think it truly began. I was doing my 3 a.m. patrol. It was snowing lightly, and the whole lot was dead quiet. No wind, no cars on the nearby road, just my boots crunching in the snow. I had almost finished when I passed behind Warehouse 3, the oldest building, the one no one ever went into. It used to be some kind of lab back when the steel company was doing materials research. I paused. There was a light on inside, just a faint glow in the top floor window. I stared at it for a while. Then it went out. I should have walked away. I really should have, but instead I went in. The inside smelled like mold and ammonia. My boots echoed on the tile floor as I climbed the stairs. The light had come from the second floor, room 212. The door had no handle, just a thin vertical slit like an old fire door. I nudged it open. The room was filled with cages. Dozens of them stacked on metal shelves. Most were empty. Some had tufts of fur. One had what looked like a bird skeleton. The walls were covered in scribbled notes, all in different handwriting. Some in pen, some in marker, some scratched directly into the paint with fingernails. There were drawings too, circles, eyes, long-limbed figures that repeated over and over like someone had traced them in a trance. On the far wall, someone had written in large black letters, "It doesn't like being seen." Underneath it, scrawled in red, "Don't look at its face." I didn't realize I was holding my breath until I nearly passed out. I stumbled backward, out the door, and ran all the way back to the booth. That night, the cameras all went dead at exactly 3:04 a.m. Every screen turned to static. Then, one by one, they came back except for camera 6. That one stayed black. It was the camera facing room 212. At 3:17, it flickered back on for a single frame. In that frame, I saw a face. Not human, not even close. It was long and pale, with deep hollow eyes and no mouth. Just skin stretched tight over bone, like wax over a skull. His head tilted slightly, as if it were listening. I unplugged the monitor and didn't touch it again for the rest of the shift. Over the weekend, I tried to quit. I emailed my supervisor saying I was done, I needed out, but I never got a response. Then Monday night, something changed. The air felt heavier. The snow had stopped, but everything outside looked wrong. The shadows were too long, the silence too complete, like the world was holding its breath. At exactly 3:04 a.m., I heard a knock on the booth door, just once. I turned slowly, and there, through the glass, I saw it. The same thing from the camera frame. It was standing inches away from me, its face level with mine. No mouth, just hollow pits for eyes and skin stretched tight like parchment. But the worst part was how still it was. It didn't move, didn't breathe. It just stared, couldn't scream, couldn't even move. Then it tilted its head, and the window cracked. Just a little, just enough to let a whisper through. I still don't know what it said, but I felt it, like a cold finger sliding down my spine. And then it was gone. That was my last night. I left everything behind. My ID, my uniform, the keys. I just walked out of the booth, got in my car, and drove. I didn't stop until I hit Columbus, 3 hours away. I didn't sleep for 2 days. I never went back, but I kept watching the news. 2 weeks later, a report came out. Security guard found dead in Pittsburgh warehouse. They didn't name the location, but I knew. It said his body was found inside a locked room. No signs of forced entry. No wounds. Just dead. They ruled it a heart attack. He was 28. Since then, I've moved 4 times. I keep the blinds closed. I don't go out after dark. I've never worked nights again. But every now and then, around 3:04 a.m., I wake up. And sometimes, just for a second, I swear I hear something whispering in my hallway. Just one word. Scene.